Imagine a land where ancient legends live alongside cutting-edge cities, where every castle, cliff, and cobbled street tells a tale. The United Kingdom is more than its royal traditions and red phone boxes. It's a tapestry of myth, mystery, and marvels, stitched together across time and terrain. In this episode, we'll first dive into some fun facts about the UK that'll surprise and intrigue you, and then journey through its most stunning and enchanting places. Did you know the UK has over 790 islands, yet only about 130 of them are inhabited? On the remote island of Skye, puffins outnumber people, and you need a permit just to step ashore. Not far from there, deep in the Brecon Beacons, lies a glacial crater called Cwm Lwch, a wild camping spot so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat under the stars. Farther north, in Shetland, winter nights sometimes glow with streaks of green and violet, the aurora borealis, or as locals call it, the Miri Dancers. In the mountains of Carmarthenshire, Linny Fanfak pulls off a vanishing act every summer, draining through hidden fissures like a disappearing spell. Some things, though, feel like pure magic. In the Scottish Highlands, a train still crosses the Glenfinnan Viaduct, an arched bridge made famous by the Hogwarts Express. The West Highland line it runs on is often called one of the most scenic railways in the world, winding past lochs, mountains, and misty moors straight out of a storybook. With more than 1,500 castles, many dating back to the Norman conquest, the country is a living archive of royal history, and some of those castles are still in use today. For those who prefer the open air, the UK offers over 24,000 kilometers of public footpaths, winding through ancient forests, rugged coastlines, and mountain landscapes that feel untouched by time. If there's one place in Northern Ireland that feels like it belongs in a fantasy novel, it's the Giant's Causeway. At first glance, this natural wonder looks like it was carefully carved by human hands, but in reality, it's the work of nature itself, created by volcanic activity over 50 to 60 million years ago. With around 40,000 interlocking basalt columns, most of them shaped into perfect hexagons, it's a geological masterpiece unlike any other in the world. But science isn't the only explanation for this incredible landscape. According to legend, the Giant's Causeway was built by Finn McCool, an Irish giant who was challenged to a fight by his Scottish rival, Benandonner. To reach Scotland, Finn built a massive stone bridge across the sea. But when he saw how enormous Benandonner was, Finn's wife came up with a clever plan. She disguised Finn as a baby, making Benandonner believe that if the child was that big, the father must be even bigger. Terrified, the Scottish giant fled back home, destroying the causeway behind him. Strangely enough, this myth has some truth to it. Across the water in Scotland's Isle of Staffa, a nearly identical rock formation exists, making it seem like the two places were once connected. Aside from its fascinating history and mythical origins, the Giant's Causeway has also been a source of inspiration for storytellers for centuries. Its otherworldly landscape has even made appearances in films and TV shows, including Game of Thrones. And if you listen closely, you might hear something even stranger. Some of the columns, when struck, produce a musical tone, earning the nickname the Giant's Organ. Vast, rugged, and breathtakingly beautiful, the Scottish Highlands are one of the last great wildernesses in Europe. Covering nearly 26,000 square kilometers, or 10,000 square miles, this dramatic landscape is a mix of towering mountains, deep lochs, and sweeping moorlands. It's a place where nature still reigns, untouched and untamed. At the heart of this wild terrain stands Ben Nevis, the tallest mountain in the UK, rising over 1,300 meters or 4,400 feet into the sky. Each year, thousands of adventurers take on the challenge of reaching its peak, rewarded with panoramic views of Scotland's vast, untamed beauty. But the Highlands aren't just about landscapes. They're home to one of the world's greatest mysteries. Loch Ness, a deep, dark freshwater lake, is famous not just for its stunning scenery, but for the legend of Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. Sightings of a mysterious creature lurking in the water have been reported for centuries, fueling speculation and curiosity. Whether Nessie is real or just a legend, the mystery only adds to the magic of the Highlands. History also runs deep here. The Highlands were once ruled by Scottish clans, powerful family groups that shaped the nation's past. Their legacy lives on in the many castles scattered across the region, like Donan Castle, perched dramatically on a small island where 3 lochs meet. With its stone walls and scenic backdrop, it's one of Scotland's most photographed landmarks. And for fans of Harry Potter, the Highlands hold another kind of magic. The Glenfinnan Viaduct, with its grand sweeping arches, is instantly recognizable as the railway line that carries the Hogwarts Express in the films. Watching the Jacobite steam train chug across this historic bridge feels like stepping into a real-life fairy tale. Along the southern edge of England lies a stretch of coastline unlike any other in the world, the Jurassic Coast. Spanning 150 kilometers, or 95 miles, this epic shoreline is a living timeline, revealing 185 million years of Earth's geological story through its dramatic cliffs, hidden coves, and fossil-rich beaches. Here, you don't just visit the coast, you walk through time. The exposed rock layers along the cliffs are like pages in an ancient book, each one holding secrets from the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods. It's a place where you can literally stand in front of the history of the planet and trace the rise and fall of ancient worlds. It's also a fossil hunter's paradise. For centuries, people have uncovered the remains of ancient sea creatures right on the beaches, and some of the most groundbreaking discoveries in paleontology happened here. In the early 1800s, Mary Anning, a young girl from Lyme Regis, uncovered the first complete ichthyosaur skeleton, changing the scientific world forever. But it's not just science that draws people here. It's the coastline's raw beauty. Landmarks like Durdle Door, a towering limestone arch carved by the sea, and Lulworth Cove, a perfect circle of blue embraced by cliffs, make this one of the most iconic stretches of coast in the UK. And yes, dinosaurs once roamed these shores. Fossilized footprints have been found pressed into the stone, quiet reminders of a time when giants ruled the land and sea. If ever there was a place that looked like it was plucked straight from the pages of a fantasy novel, it's the Isle of Skye. Known affectionately as the Misty Isle, Skye is a land of moody skies, dramatic cliffs, and landscapes so surreal they feel like something out of a dream. Located off the west coast of Scotland, but now reachable by the Skye Bridge, the island is remote in spirit, even if it's no longer difficult to reach. Once you arrive, modern life feels like a distant memory. Skye greets you with rugged peaks, rolling moors, and shimmering lochs, all wrapped in a veil of mist and mystery. The island's natural wonders are nothing short of legendary. the towering spire of the Old Man of Store, the jagged ridges of the Cuiraing, and the magical fairy pools where crystal-clear waterfalls tumble into turquoise basins. All are postcard perfect, yet totally otherworldly. But the Isle of Skye isn't just known for its beauty. It's a place deeply rooted in Celtic folklore. Tales of fairies, giants, and ancient warriors are still whispered here, especially in places like the Fairy Glen or Dunvegan Castle, where myth and history blur into one. Skye is also one of the last strongholds of Scottish Gaelic culture. The language, music, and traditions remain alive in local communities, giving the island a strong cultural pulse beneath its wild exterior. And then there's the wildlife. Look up, and you might spot a sea eagle soaring above the cliffs. Look out to sea, and you could glimpse whales or dolphins gliding through the waves. Tucked into the rugged coastline of Cornwall, St Ives is a town where land, sea, and creativity collide. With its turquoise waters, golden beaches, and charming harbour, it's no wonder this former fishing village has become one of the UK's most adored seaside destinations. But St Ives is more than just a pretty place. It's a living gallery. For over a century, artists have flocked here, drawn by the extraordinary quality of light that dances across the bay and reflects off the whitewashed buildings. Today, the town is home to the acclaimed Tate St Ives and the Barbara Hepworth Museum, celebrating the town's rich artistic soul. Despite its rise in popularity, St Ives hasn't lost its character. At its heart is a working fishing harbor, where brightly colored boats bob in the tide and the smell of fresh catch lingers in the sea breeze. It's a perfect blend of tradition and tourism, where lobster pots sit beside art studios and fishermen share space with painters. Wander the town's narrow, winding streets, and you'll find yourself in a maze of cobbled lanes, art galleries, and cozy cafes. Each turn reveals something new. Maybe a quiet courtyard, a glimpse of the ocean, or a hidden shop filled with handcrafted treasures. And then there are the beaches. Porthmeor Beach is a magnet for surfers, while Porthminster Beach offers calm, family-friendly waters with views that stretch for miles. The mild climate and palm trees add an almost tropical feel, making St Ives feel like a little slice of the Mediterranean tucked into the southwest of England. Perched between rugged hills and sweeping coastlines, Edinburgh is a city where history, legend, and architecture are woven into every cobbled street and Gothic spire. As Scotland's capital since the 15th century, it has witnessed centuries of drama, rebellion, royalty, and brilliance, and it shows in every breathtaking view. Towering over the city is the iconic Edinburgh Castle, built on the summit of an extinct volcano known as Castle Rock. From its elevated perch, the castle commands sweeping views of the city below and has stood as a symbol of Scottish strength for over 1,000 years. Inside, you'll find Scotland's crown jewels and the legendary Stone of Destiny, steeped in royal tradition. Leading away from the castle is the Royal Mile, a historic street that runs straight through the heart of Edinburgh's Old Town, ending at Holyrood Palace, the official Scottish residence of the British monarch. Along this route, ancient alleyways called closes branch off like secret passages, each one filled with ghost stories, legends, and centuries-old secrets. But Edinburgh isn't only about history, it's also where modern magic was born. J.K. Rowling famously wrote much of Harry Potter in the city's cafes. The Gothic charm of Victoria Street, the eerie peace of Greyfriars Kirkyard, and the towering skyline are said to have inspired everything from Diagon Alley to Hogwarts itself. The city is split in two, both physically and stylistically, between the medieval Old Town and the 18th century New Town. The former is mysterious and moody, with twisting streets and ancient buildings. The latter is grand and graceful, filled with neoclassical architecture. Together, they form a stunning contrast that earned Edinburgh its status as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Standing tall above the crashing waves of the English Channel, the White Cliffs of Dover have long been a symbol of hope, strength, and identity for Britain. With their brilliant white faces rising from the sea, these chalk cliffs are more than just a stunning natural formation. They're a national icon. Composed of pure white chalk, the cliffs were formed over 70 million years ago, built from the compressed remains of microscopic sea creatures that once lived in a warm, shallow sea. Today, they stretch for miles along the coast, their glowing cliffs standing in stark contrast to the deep blue waters below. Throughout history, these cliffs have served as a natural defense barrier, especially during critical times like World War II, when they represented Britain's last line of protection, and often the first glimpse of home for returning soldiers. Their dramatic presence has made them a symbol of resilience, etched into the national consciousness. On a clear day, you can even see the shores of France, just 34 kilometers across the channel. This makes the cliffs not just a natural marvel, but also a place where two worlds seem almost within reach of each other. Beyond their striking appearance, the cliffs are alive with rare wildlife. Managed by the National Trust, the area is home to wildflowers, nesting seabirds, and butterflies you won't find anywhere else. It's a haven for nature lovers, history buffs, and anyone who wants to stand at the edge of the island and look out to sea. Rising above the Welsh landscape, Snowdonia National Park is a breathtaking world of towering mountains, cascading waterfalls, and ancient myths. At its heart stands Mount Snowdon, Yr Wydfa, the tallest peak in Wales, reaching 1,000 meters or 3,500 feet. Climbing to the summit is a rite of passage for many adventurers, and on a clear day, the reward is spectacular. Views stretching across Ireland, Scotland, England, and even the Isle of Man. But Snowdon is more than just a mountain. It's a land woven with legendary tales. According to Welsh mythology, this is where King Arthur defeated the giant Rhydd Gower, a fearsome warrior who collected the beards of fallen kings as trophies. Some say Arthur himself was laid to rest in these mountains, making Snowdonia a place of mystery as well as beauty. Snowdonia isn't just about mountains, it's also a land of waterfalls. Hidden among its forests and rocky cliffs, Swallow Falls and Aber Falls are some of the most dramatic waterfalls in the UK, adding to the park's magical atmosphere. And with more rainfall than anywhere else in Wales, the region is constantly replenished, creating lush green valleys, fast-flowing rivers, and mirror-like lakes that make it a paradise for nature lovers. As night falls, Snowdonia reveals another wonder, one of the darkest skies in the UK. Designated as an international dark sky reserve, the park offers some of the best stargazing opportunities in Europe. With minimal light pollution, visitors can witness the Milky Way, meteor showers, and even planets shining bright in the night sky. Steeped in centuries of tradition, academic brilliance, and a touch of magic, Oxford and Cambridge are not just cities. They are living symbols of learning and legacy. These two universities, Oxford, dating back to 1096, and Cambridge, founded in 1209, form the legendary duo known as Oxbridge, and together they have shaped the minds that shaped the world. From Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin to Stephen Hawking and Tolkien, the list of alumni reads like a hall of fame of global intellect and creativity. And it's not just about academics. 28 British prime ministers studied at Oxbridge, along with countless poets, philosophers, and Nobel Prize winners. The rivalry between the two is the stuff of legend, most famously played out in the annual Oxford-Cambridge boat race on the River Thames, a tradition that's been going strong since 1829. It's more than a race. It's a clash of heritage, pride, and centuries-old competition. But step into either city, and it feels like you've entered a storybook. The Gothic spires, ancient libraries, and hidden courtyards give off serious Harry Potter vibes, and that's no coincidence. Parts of Christ Church College in Oxford were used as actual filming locations for the movies. And when the sun is shining, there's no better way to take it all in than by punting, gliding gently down the river with a long pole, drifting past grand college buildings and blooming willow trees. It's a peaceful tradition that has become part of the Oxbridge charm. Located in the northwest of England lies a region so stunning, it has inspired poets, painters, and wanderers for centuries. The Lake District National Park. Covering 2,300 square kilometers, or 900 square miles, it holds the title of England's largest national park, and its dramatic blend of rugged mountains, shimmering lakes, and peaceful valleys make it one of the country's most cherished natural treasures. Within this vast landscape rises Skye Pike, England's highest mountain, standing tall at almost 1,000 meters, or over 3,200 feet. Not far below is Wastewater, the country's deepest lake, whose dark waters reflect the surrounding peaks like a mirror. Together, they form one of the most striking natural contrasts in all of Britain. But the magic of the Lake District goes far beyond the scenery. This region sparked the imaginations of literary greats like William Wordsworth, who described it as the loveliest spot that man hath found. Alongside him, Beatrix Potter found inspiration in its green hills and helped preserve the land and its famous residents, the Herdwick sheep, a tough, woolly breed native to the High Fells. Despite being called the Lake District, it's home to only one officially named lake, Bassenthwaite Lake. The rest are charmingly referred to as meres, waters, or tarns, each adding its own unique beauty to the landscape. With over 200 fells and 16 major bodies of water, every path leads to a new discovery. Just be sure to pack a raincoat. This is also one of the wettest places in England, with some areas soaking up over 3,000 millimeters of rain each year. But even the rain adds to its charm, keeping the valleys lush and the waterfalls flowing year-round. Rolling hills, winding lanes, and postcard-perfect villages, the Cotswolds are the very image of the English countryside dream. Spanning over 2,000 square kilometers, or 770 square miles, this sprawling region is the largest area of outstanding natural beauty in England and Wales, and every inch of it feels like stepping into a storybook. The charm of the Cotswolds lies in its honey-colored stone cottages, built from local limestone that glows golden in the sun. These timeless villages, like Bibury, Bourton-on-the-Water, and Castlecombe, have changed little in centuries, with medieval streets, thatched roofs, and ancient market squares that feel untouched by time. But beneath the beauty lies a story of historic wealth. During the Middle Ages, the Cotswolds thrived thanks to the wool trade, and the region became one of the richest in England. Cotswold sheep were so prized, the phrase, "as rich as a Cotswold sheep," once meant serious status. The legacy of that wealth can still be seen in the grand churches and elegant manor houses scattered throughout the hills. Today, the Cotswolds are not just beloved by tourists, but also by the British elite. From supermodels like Kate Moss to former prime ministers and even King Charles III, who owns a residence in Tetbury, the area has become a peaceful retreat for those seeking countryside calm. Few places capture the spirit of a British seaside escape quite like Brighton. Perched on England's south coast, this vibrant resort town has been drawing visitors since the 18th century, when it became the go-to getaway for royalty and high society. What started as a quiet fishing village transformed into one of the UK's most iconic beach destinations, buzzing with energy, color, and coastal charm. At the heart of Brighton's unique identity stands the Royal Pavilion, a palace unlike anything else in Britain. With its exotic Indian-style domes and Chinese-inspired interiors, it looks more like something out of a fairy tale than a traditional royal residence. Built for King George IV, it's a symbol of Brighton's long-standing love affair with eccentricity and elegance. While many beach towns boast soft sand, Brighton's beach is famously made of pebbles, and people absolutely love it. On sunny days, it becomes a sea of deck chairs, ice creams, and cheerful chatter, with the bright blue English Channel stretching out to the horizon. And no visit to Brighton is complete without a stroll down the Brighton Palace Pier. Opened in 1899, this historic pier is a playground of classic seaside fun. Think candy floss, arcade games, and thrilling rides, all set against the backdrop of sea and sky. Step into Canterbury, and you step into a city layered with legend, faith, and storytelling. This enchanting town in southeast England has been drawing pilgrims and visitors alike for centuries, ever since the dramatic murder of Archbishop Thomas Becket inside its cathedral in 1170. That moment not only shocked a nation, but also gave birth to one of the greatest works of English literature, Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. At the heart of it all stands Canterbury Cathedral, a towering masterpiece of Gothic architecture and one of the most important religious buildings in the world. It's the seat of the Archbishop of Canterbury, spiritual leader of the Church of England, and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. With its soaring arches, medieval stained glass, and centuries of sacred history, it's a place that continues to inspire awe and reverence. But Canterbury's story doesn't begin or end at the cathedral. The city was founded by the Romans, and traces of that ancient past still remain. You can walk along parts of the original city walls, pass through historic gates, and even find preserved sections of Roman pavement beneath the streets. The spirit of storytelling lives on here. Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, which follow a group of pilgrims sharing stories on their way to the city, still echo through its streets. Today, you can even step into an interactive visitor experience that brings the tales, characters, and medieval world to life. Yet despite its deep history, Canterbury is far from frozen in time. With charming timber-framed buildings, cobbled lanes, and tucked-away gardens, it's as picturesque as it is lively. As a university town, it buzzes with energy. Cafes, theaters, and markets blend seamlessly with ancient stonework and centuries-old traditions. Rising from the open fields of Salisbury Plain, Stonehenge is one of the most iconic and mysterious landmarks in the world. A circle of colossal stones, perfectly positioned and shrouded in myth, it has fascinated archaeologists, historians, and dreamers for thousands of years. What makes Stonehenge even more extraordinary is its age. Its earliest parts date back to around 3100 BCE, making it older than the Great Pyramids of Egypt. It was constructed in stages over centuries, yet the precision and scale of its design remain mind-blowing even today. Some of the stones, known as sarsens, weigh up to 25 tons and were transported from 32 kilometers away. But even more astonishing are the blue stones, believed to have been moved from the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 240 kilometers away, without the help of modern machinery. How and why they were brought here is still one of Stonehenge's greatest puzzles. Equally mysterious is its purpose. Was it a temple, a burial site, an ancient observatory, or a place of healing? Theories abound, but no one knows for sure. What we do know is that it's perfectly aligned with the movements of the sun. On the summer solstice, the sun rises directly above the heel stone and shines into the heart of the circle. This solar alignment suggests that Stonehenge played a key role in ancient rituals and beliefs. Even today, it remains a powerful spiritual site. Modern-day druids, pagans, and solstice seekers gather here to celebrate the changing seasons, standing in the same spot as ancient peoples did thousands of years ago. Tucked between the mountains of Snowdonia and the waters of the River Conwy, the town of Conwy in North Wales feels like a place where time simply stopped. With its stone walls, towering castle, and cobbled streets, Conwy is one of the best-preserved medieval towns in Europe, and walking through it feels like stepping straight into the 13th century. Rising above the town is the awe-inspiring Conwy Castle, built by King Edward I in the late 1200s as part of his conquest of Wales. With its 8 massive towers, rugged stone walls, and commanding views of the sea and mountains, it's easy to see why it's considered one of the greatest examples of medieval military architecture in Britain. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and exploring its towers and battlements is like reliving history firsthand. But Conwy isn't just about grandeur. It's also home to a charming oddity, the smallest house in Great Britain. Painted bright red and tucked along the harbor, this tiny residence measures only 1.8 meters, 6 feet wide. Yet it was once a fully functioning home, lived in until 1900. It's now a beloved and quirky attraction that adds a dose of character to the town's rich heritage. Surrounded by its nearly complete medieval town walls, Conwy feels untouched by the modern world. Its traditional shops, historic pubs, and winding lanes have a quiet magic to them, the kind that makes you want to linger a little longer. In the heart of northern England lies York, a city where every stone tells a story, and history isn't just remembered, it's lived. Founded by the Romans in 71 AD as Iberacum, York has been a stronghold for emperors, kings, and even Viking warriors. Today, it stands as one of the UK's most fascinating and beautifully preserved historic cities. Dominating the skyline is York Minster, a masterpiece of Gothic architecture and one of the most stunning cathedrals in Northern Europe. Its intricate stonework, towering spires, and magnificent stained glass windows draw visitors from all over the world, and inside, the sense of awe is impossible to ignore. But York's past isn't just about towering churches. It's also about Vikings. Once known as Jorvik, the city was the capital of a powerful Norse kingdom. You can step into Viking life at the Jorvik Viking Center, where ancient streets have been brought back to life with sights, sounds, and even smells of 1,000 years ago. York is also famous for its medieval city walls, over 3 kilometers or 2 miles of walkable stone fortifications that still encircle the city. Strolling along them gives you panoramic views and a true sense of what it was like to live in a fortified city of the past. Then there's the Shambles, perhaps York's most iconic street. With its narrow, twisting lane and leaning timber-framed buildings, it feels like something straight out of a fantasy novel, and for good reason. It's often said to have inspired Diagon Alley in the Harry Potter series. And if you're into the supernatural, York won't disappoint. Known as one of the most haunted cities in Europe, it's packed with ghost stories, ancient inns with eerie reputations, and nighttime tours that dive into centuries of chilling tales. If there's one place in the UK where history still walks the halls, it's Windsor. Just west of London, this elegant town is crowned by one of the most iconic landmarks in Britain, Windsor Castle. Standing proudly for over 900 years, it's the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world, and it's still very much alive with royal presence. For centuries, Windsor Castle has been the home of monarchs, and it remained a favorite retreat of Queen Elizabeth II, who often spent her weekends there. Known as her personal sanctuary, it was the setting for some of the most private and meaningful moments of her reign. Within the castle grounds lies St George's Chapel, an architectural gem and the site of many royal weddings, including the 2018 marriage of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Its Gothic arches and centuries-old tombs make it both a place of celebration and deep royal tradition. And just like at Buckingham Palace, visitors can witness the changing of the guard, a perfectly choreographed military ceremony complete with red uniforms, bearskin hats, and marching bands, adding pageantry to the town's regal atmosphere. But Windsor isn't all pomp and castles. The town itself is charming, with Georgian buildings, cozy pubs, and cobbled lanes that sit gracefully along the River Thames. Stroll across the bridge and you'll find Eton College, one of the world's most prestigious schools, where future kings and prime ministers have studied for generations. At once ancient and ever-evolving, London is not just the capital of the United Kingdom. It's a city that feels like the center of the world. Founded by the Romans in 47 AD as Londinium, it has grown over 2 millennia into a metropolis that blends history, culture, innovation, and endless energy. The city is packed with iconic landmarks that are instantly recognizable. Big Ben, the Houses of Parliament, the majestic Tower Bridge, and of course, Buckingham Palace, where the changing of the guard still draws crowds from around the globe. And looming with centuries of royal intrigue is the Tower of London, home to the crown jewels and tales of kings, queens, and ghosts. Yet London isn't just a place to see history, it's a place to feel it. Wander through the British Museum, marvel at the Rosetta Stone, then pop into the Natural History Museum or Tate Modern, just a few of the 170-plus museums in the city, many of them free to enter. Getting around? Hop on the Tube, the world's first underground railway, opened in 1863, and now spanning over 400 kilometers beneath the bustling streets above. What makes London truly special, though, is its diversity. With over 300 languages spoken, And 1 in 3 residents born outside the UK, it's a melting pot of cultures, cuisines, and communities. From a traditional English pub in Soho to a Sri Lankan curry in Tooting or a Caribbean street party in Notting Hill, the world lives side by side here. And for all its urban excitement, London also breathes deeply. With more than 3,000 parks and nearly half the city covered in green space, it's a capital that knows how to slow down too, whether you're boating in Hyde Park or watching deer roam in Richmond. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the wonders of the United Kingdom. If you enjoyed the adventure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a trip through the world's most incredible places. See you in the next one.